On a cold autumn night in 1776, a small boat pushes off from the north shore of Long Island. There are no lanterns, only the scraping of wood against a gravel beach, the hiss of the tide pulling outward, and the quiet sob of a child who has been told she mustn't cry. Behind them lies a farm they may never see again, already under the eyes of British sentries quartered in the neighbour's house. Ahead, somewhere across miles of black water, is Connecticut, a place the people in this boat know mostly by rumour and the single, fragile promise of safety. They don't know if they'll make it across. They push off anyway. Welcome back to Northeast Cold Case. I'm glad you're here. Last episode we set the stage, the Battle of Long Island, British occupation, and why thousands of patriot families began making the dangerous decision to leave. Today we're going to slow down and follow one of those crossings in close detail. This is a composite story, meaning the family and the specific night are reconstructed from documented patterns, but every detail is grounded in historical record. Real crossing routes, real boat types, real dangers, real arrivals. This is how it happened for hundreds of Long Island families in the fall of 1776. Let's get in the boat. Not every crossing was the same. The Sound is roughly 100 miles long and between 3 and 20 miles wide, depending on where you cross. The narrowest and most used routes ran from the east end of Long Island, from Sag Harbor, Shelter Island, and the towns of Suffolk County, to New London, Saybrook, and the eastern Connecticut shore. But tonight, our family is leaving from the North Shore, closer to the western end of the island, in the territory around Oyster Bay. They are heading for the Connecticut shore, somewhere near Stamford, roughly 15 to 18 miles across. Oyster Bay was one of the most complicated places on Long Island during the occupation. British troops under Lieutenant Colonel John Graves Simcoe were headquartered there for part of the war. Washington's famous Culper spy ring operated in the town. Patriot families and Loyalist families lived side by side, watched each other, reported on each other, and occasionally helped each other. Quietly, carefully, and at great risk. A family leaving from Oyster Bay in the fall of 1776 would not have used the main wharves. Those were watched. They would have gone to a smaller, quieter beach, a cove known to locals, accessible by a cart track through the woods, where a trusted boat captain had agreed to meet them after dark. So who is in this boat, and what do they bring? Our family is composite, but entirely consistent with what historians have documented for the Long Island refugees of 1776. Picture them this way. There is a joiner, a craftsman who works with wood, makes furniture, frames windows, builds cabinets. He is in his late 30s. He spoke too freely against the king in 1775, and his name ended up on a list. Since the occupation began, he has had British soldiers sleeping in his house, eating his food, and questioning his sons about who visits and when. He has waited as long as he dares. His wife is carrying their youngest, barely a year old. She has packed the baby's things, the family Bible, with 7 generations of names written inside the front cover. A small chest of documents proving land ownership back in Long Island, and 3 changes of clothes for each child. She has left behind her mother's spinning wheel. It was too large to carry, and she cried about it for 2 days before deciding to go. There are 3 older children. They were each told to choose one thing to carry. The eldest, a boy of 11, chose his father's carpenter's compass. The middle child, a girl of 8, chose a rag doll her grandmother made. The youngest, who can walk, a boy of 5, chose nothing, because he doesn't yet understand that they aren't coming back. There are also 2 neighbors in the boat. A widow who has no one left on Long Island worth staying for, and a young man, 17, maybe 18, who has already tried once to get across the Sound, was turned back by weather, and is trying again tonight. The boat itself is a whaleboat. They were everywhere on the Sound during the Revolution, about 30 feet long, sharp at both ends, low and fast in the water, designed to be rowed hard by several men. Before the war, boats like this hunted whales off the Atlantic coast. Now they carried families, intelligence, and sometimes contraband, slipping between British-held Long Island and Patriot, Connecticut in the dark. The oarsmen, 2 men besides the joiner, are local watermen. They know the Sound. They have made this crossing before, always at night, always without lights. They are paid in silver, which is worth more than continental paper just now. The boat is loaded low, too low, the joiner thinks, watching the waterline creep toward the gunwale as the last bag is handed down. But there is no leaving anything else behind. This is everything. They push off just past midnight. The first thing that changes is the noise. On shore there was always some sound. A dog, a sentry's boots on gravel, the creak of the barn. On the water, after the beach falls behind, there is almost nothing. Just the rhythmic pull of the oars, the drip of water off the blades, and the low shh of the hull cutting through low chop. The Sound at night is not empty. Connecticut had commissioned its own armed whaleboats to patrol the water, interdict illegal trade, and control who was crossing in either direction. British patrol boats worked the Long Island side. Any light, a lantern, even a lit pipe, could draw unwanted attention from either shore. The oarsmen work in silence, communicating by touch and long habit. Weather was the other enemy. The Sound can be deceptively calm near the shore and rough in the middle channel where winds funnel through from the east. Whaleboats were seaworthy but not large. A 2-foot chop was manageable. A 4-foot chop in a loaded boat in the dark was genuinely dangerous. Boats swamped. Boats were blown off course. Crossings that should have taken 3 hours sometimes took 6. Tonight, the water stays just calm enough. Somewhere past the halfway point, around 2 in the morning, by the best reckoning of the lead oarsman, the mood in the boat shifts. They have passed out of the zone where a British patrol is likely. Connecticut shore is closer now than Long Island. The joiner's wife stops staring behind them and starts staring ahead. The children are asleep, draped over the baggage, covered with a wool blanket. The widow in the stern is praying, quietly, in a voice too low to make out. Nobody speaks. Then, and this is the moment every crossing account reaches for, a flicker. 3 quick flashes from a dark stretch of beach. Not a harbour light, not a fire. A lantern signalling from shore. The lead oarsman adjusts course by 8 degrees, the others follow. They are coming in. They do not go into a bright harbour. Arriving openly, at night, unregistered, with a loaded boat, that would invite inspection, questioning, and delay they cannot afford. Instead, they come in along a quieter stretch of coast, where the lantern signal has confirmed a friendly contact is waiting. The boat grinds against sand. The young man at the bow jumps out first, knees in cold water, and pulls the bow line to a post. The children are handed up, still half asleep. The iron pot, somehow, makes it to shore undamaged. The first sensation, witnesses to similar crossings recorded, was not relief. It was cold. Then silence. Then the strange unreality of standing on ground that was not Long Island. There is a farmhouse a quarter-mile from the beach, a candle in the window. The family that lives there has been told to expect arrivals. They are members of the same congregational church as a cousin of the joiner's wife. A connection made 3 months ago through a letter, a contact, a quiet word. Connecticut authorities tried to regulate the arrival of Long Island refugees, directing them towards specific towns and requiring them to register their presence. But in practice, the first shelter came from exactly these informal networks: family connections, church ties, and the practical generosity of people who understood what the refugees had just survived. The joiner's family sleeps 4 to a bed that night, in a house belonging to people they have never met. By morning, there will be questions about where they are headed, what skills the joiner can offer, and how long they expect to stay. The answer to that last question, how long, turns out to be 7 years, though none of them know it yet. We don't know the exact words spoken on every boat that crossed Long Island Sound in 1776. But we do have names, hundreds of them, preserved in petitions, church records, reimbursement claims to the new government, and eventually in Frederick Gregory Mather's meticulous 1913 history. The refugees of 1776 from Long Island to Connecticut. Names like Townsend, Conkling, Seaman, Wood, Floyd. Many of them surnames you can still find in Long Island and Connecticut phone books today. This one night's crossing, repeated dozens, then hundreds of times across different beaches and different seasons, changed the population of entire Connecticut towns. It created new communities of people who had one foot in Long Island and one in Connecticut, who spent years trying to reclaim property they'd left behind, and who, when the occupation finally ended in 1783, faced the hardest question of all. Do we go back? In the next episode, we're going to look at what happened to the enslaved people caught in the middle of this exodus. The men and women who had no choice about whether to go, and no guarantee of safety on either side of the water. If your family name appears in Connecticut records that trace back to Long Island before 1783, this series may hold clues you haven't found anywhere else. Leave your family name in the comments. I read every one. Subscribe to Northeast Cold Case and hit the bell so you don't miss episode 3.